Hello, hello, Collective Shift members. This is me, Leon. I'm here with Taylor from the Mining Store and Imperial Wealth. Welcome, Taylor. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Leon. It's good to be here once again. I know it's been, a month or so since we've caught up with the holidays and everything going on, but it's good to finally get through and get this done.
Oh, amazing, amazing. This is going to be a mining update from December to January. We have a few other topics we're going to be discussing. The trends in mining in Australia as well as the world, actually. There's some news coming out from Kazakhstan, which is very significant in the mining industry at the moment. We'll look at miner revenue, we'll look at Clean Spark, and a few other topics in general. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Stay with us in the Collective Shift platform here. So, Taylor, December, January, mining. What has happened over the Christmas period and the New Year period?
Yeah, so I guess December and January was a pretty sort of interesting time in the sense of mining, purely just, I guess, from a marketing point as well. December was quite an interesting point with the market going down, retouching some lows in that sense of the sort of 16,000K Bitcoin price area. Did see a fair bit of consolidation with Bitcoin miners off-selling, their revenues pretty hastily.
Yep.
And then obviously, early January coming around and the Bitcoin price going, 30 or 40% back upwards has sort of seen that difficulty rate and the hash rate go pretty heftily up, which, was something we'd always anticipate when the price did this. But
Definitely.
It's sort of given a bit more hope. I think, it's given us some pretty clear outlines that, maybe the worst is behind us. So some pretty positive things in that sense, I'd say.
Yeah. From what I've seen, it sounds like it's getting very positive. But for myself, I'm always like, I have a little mini bear on this side. So the prices may go lower, which means the miners might start selling. You can't plan for every scenario. So it's unfortunate.
And you can't. And like particularly being a miner, you have to, in that sense, not have a short-term view. Personally, I've been mining for a pretty long time. And so, you've always got to have that little bear on your shoulder that sort of says, this is what might happen.
Yep.
And then obviously, the other one that's going, this is where it's going to go. So it's a long-term outlook. You just have to, look at the long-term view, keep yourself steady and not, I guess FOMO into it, which, some people have definitely done in the past few weeks. But at the same point, miner prices are still low. It's still a good time to enter. Personally, we've seen a lot of our clients, and us included, pick up more miners due to the prices being still at a pretty stable rate, compared to, Bitcoin being, $5,000-6,000 cheaper and miners being the same price. So it's still a good time to get involved. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. And like you say, it's not really a short-term thing when you get into the mining business. You can't have like a plan for a week or two. You have to have it for months and years because this is something that's going to keep providing Bitcoin for you. And hey, if Bitcoin goes to $1 million, then good thing you have a plan.
Exactly right. I think looking back myself, and like I've been telling clients the same thing, back when I was mining sort of circa 2016, 2017, I was mining my garage and I think I was about 8 months in and going, okay, this is seriously the worst thing I've done. I was like, I'm down thousands of dollars. I'm losing money right now. Where was I thinking this was going to go well? And then about six months later, a completely different mindset.
Yeah.
So, you can't look. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. So you're planning for 5 years down the track, if not longer, depending on your situation. So it's just about going, all right, I'm going to accumulate this amount for this period. Let's just hold and see what happens.
Yeah.
So, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, well said, man. Well said. All right, let's get into the meat of the topics today. So I kind of want to know what's the narratives that are forming in crypto mining at the moment? What is the community? What are your clients thinking in mining? Obviously, as you did say, some of them are starting to hold because of the increased price in Bitcoin, but we're also seeing hash rate going up at the moment, nearly hitting all-time high, if I'm correct. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what's the current narrative in Bitcoin mining right now, or at least in Australia, if you can provide us some insight?
Yeah, so I guess in our circumstance, purely with Mining Store, like a lot of our clients are based offshore with us, obviously.
Yeah.
When it comes to the general consensus, a lot of people are looking to alternatives other than Bitcoin for a few reasons. Newer equipment.
Yep.
And obviously somewhat more profitable equipment. But at the same point, when it comes to specifically Bitcoin miners, a lot of people are noticing the cheaper hash rate. There's a lot of machines that have been coming out over the past sort of 6 months that people have been watching and sort of, particularly like if you think of, the Bitmain S19 XPs, when they first launched, they were really quite hefty in price. And it was as much as they were touted as the most profitable miner on the planet, which they still are for Bitcoin, it's something that people are a bit were skeptical at the time just based off price, whereas they've come down significantly in that sense.
Good entry.
So yeah, exactly right. And that's the thing, like particularly if you are new to the market or you've been in it for a long time, you can understand that it's something that these opportunities don't necessarily come around too often. Personally, like I've looked at it from a point of view where, say, 6 to 12 months down the track, this miner will be worth more than what I paid for it.
That's true.
So, if I went and bought Bitcoin and it went down again, I would be stuck with that, emotional loss of going, okay, should I be selling this because it go down to 5,000, et cetera, right? Whereas if I buy the miner, I've still got the asset and what it produces. So it does add a little bit of security. And I think a lot of our clients and a lot of newcomers, to be honest, have seen that and that value. So there's a lot going on in that sense, a lot of cheaper hash rate, as well as a few different strategies, I guess, around different altcoin miners and how you can put that into use in your portfolio as well.
Mm-hmm. So I've got a whole bunch of follow-up questions from there. So the first thing on my mind is I want to ask, how much was the ENS19 when it first came out? And then what is like the secondary price of it now? Maybe even OTC deal, something like that. What price?
So at the moment, like when they first launched in I think it was around September, October last year, they were probably around that. I think it was like the $12,000 mark, because there's two different variations. There's a higher 141 terahash and then a 134.
Yep.
Now they're roughly around the 7,000 to 8,000. So they've come down sort of around that 30 to 40% mark. They're starting to come up again, obviously with the Bitcoin price coming back up, but not a huge amount. Particularly when you look at the comparison, they launched when Bitcoin was at 24,000 or something like that. They've come down 40%, and Bitcoin's gone back up 40%. The price has probably only moved about 5. So still a good deal. They're producing, 18% of a Bitcoin a year. Pretty decent entry at that point, I'd say.
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, as someone who's well capitalized and can do the math, can probably work out some arbitrage opportunities.
Yeah, exactly right.
With Bitcoin. Yeah. Okay. Sure. So, I want to. I had some follow-up questions, but that's okay. I think we should move on. So I want to ask about the mining revenues currently. So mining revenues are down at the moment for Bitcoin miners. This is Bitcoin price goes down, even though your cost of electricity is either the same or has significantly increased, depending whereabouts in the world you are. So I want to ask you what you guys are telling your customers, or what things you've noticed your customers doing to try and shore up their miner revenue, either by reducing their electricity costs, by using renewables, or going offshore, cheaper electricity somewhere else. What else are you noticing them trying to do to increase their revenue cost?
So I guess from our perspective, we're in a really fortunate position that our electricity prices haven't changed.
Yep.
So our clients are in a very good position in the sense that there's a stable, reliable source. That means that they haven't had any necessarily additional pressure in that sense to change strategy. It really depends on what each individual client's objective is, in the sense of whether or not they were using the proceeds from mining to pay for the power, or they were passively accumulating, and that was their plan. If you're accumulating, the price of Bitcoin now versus electricity is kind of irrelevant. As much as you could potentially buy more Bitcoin for that price, the strategy is still the same. So for that instance, a lot of our clients have been purchasing additional Bitcoin purely just to add to the wallet, keep it in the back end.
Wow.
Just that's kind of the point. We're all in this game to accumulate as much as possible. So it'd be counterproductive to turn off unless you couldn't afford to do that. In the sense that a lot of miners have been paying the power bill outright with their Bitcoin they're producing, that's sort of been where we've noticed a lot of the squeeze. That's sort of something that we necessarily don't advise, because it is a little bit counterproductive. But at that point, we've sort of been advising and trying to help clients in enabling them to maybe use a different strategy, whether it's paying 50% out of pocket for power and then using the other 50% to put away into cold storage. So they're at least not breaking net zero, in the sense that they're not accumulating anything and they're just running as is. So we're quite fortunate in that situation. I've personally got friends that have mined with other companies, and their energy prices have doubled. So it's fortunate in that sense, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in mining as you guys are, but I would say one of the major inputs, resources to mine your Bitcoin and to have a good balance sheet is the electricity cost. And with inflation and the global macro factors happening right now, as you say, Australia, electricity hasn't increased that much, but in other European countries or even in the US, electricity has gone up tremendously. So that 100%. You have to really factor that in before you start thinking about mining.
Yeah, exactly. And we've had to change locations in one of our US which is a very small facility that we've changed anyway. But that was because the production price was going up by about 40%,
Wow.
which just wasn't applicable.
Yeah.
So we've since moved to a different location with a different company and been able to secure a better rate, which has been quite fortunate. But there's quite a lot of companies, particularly the US and in some sort of other Asian countries, that are having a very similar format as well.
And as we pivot to the Asian countries or semi-Asian countries, I wanted to touch base on some new news that I think you just let me know before. So Kazakhstan. So I'm sure everyone's aware, China kind of banned Bitcoin for Bitcoin mining for like the 10th time, whatever. And we had a lot of miners that had moved to Kazakhstan and some of these other Middle East countries, Asian countries. So there's been an update in that story at the moment. So can you update us what's happened in Kazakhstan at the moment?
Yeah, of course. So I guess in that instance, what happened 2021 was a lot of companies had to move quite quickly to get out of China, otherwise risk losing obviously your equipment.
Yeah.
Kazakhstan was something that I guess a lot of people opted to purely because it was a very, very inexpensive way to get machinery via shipping and whatnot, as well as obviously a lot of cheap electricity. That has obviously happened for the past 12 and a bit months, and now the legislation is set to change. I believe this morning got signed, but I'm still waiting on 100% confirmation of that. But they are looking to obviously outlaw the fact that you can't mine Bitcoin unless it's with excess energy, which the country really doesn't have that.
That's right.
I think they're roughly sort of around a 5% excess mark, which it's going to, leave you with, maybe a megawatt. So it's not going to do much. I think at that point, a lot of companies that are over there will have to relocate because they won't be able to mine unless they obviously, which I doubt would happen, would obviously put in some larger infrastructure to create more energy, but counterproductive towards mining.
That's not it. You don't have to start. Your job as a miner isn't to start building the infrastructure from scratch. You have to kind of use the infrastructure that's supplying excess energy, and there's no excess energy there. So very difficult for them. So what do you think these miners will do? They'll move to neighboring countries, or do you think they might take their chances in America, relocate somewhere across the world? I
think it's a really difficult game. Like from a risk asset in that sense, if you're looking to move to a neighboring country, the same thing could happen again.
Yeah.
I think depending on the country and the location, and obviously, the company structure, it would probably be more suitable to be shifting towards a location where you've got a little bit more control, a little bit more security. It's sort of a reason why I guess we haven't been too hasty to get involved in that sort of market condition, just because there's so many uncertainties. And the more downtime, the longer period, it doesn't help with your machinery, but also in the sense of your halving structure and whatnot.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you got to think 2 years ahead. Bitcoin halving.
And that's the thing, and time is the biggest factor.
Yeah.
So downtime, moving locations, that's the biggest killer.
Yeah, you just undercut yourself every single day. You're just losing a Bitcoin that you could be mining.
Exactly right.
Yeah, and the potential value of that Bitcoin. So not just today's value, but in 5 years' time.
Exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Well, difficult situation in Kazakhstan then. I know a lot of people are feeling the pinch in regards to energy and regulations, but that's the world. Geographical arbitrage, I think it's called. You can move anywhere across the world that is favorable to you. So I guess crypto has to find a really safe place to mine with cheap electricity or renewable.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
All right, so I've got two topics that I'm thinking maybe we can even combine into one. So this is looking at the companies and the structures in crypto mining at the moment. So I know 3 companies recently raised capital. One of them is Giga Energy, which is $10 million they just raised. TerraWolf just raised $32 million, and Power raised $9.2 million. Now, this leads into the bigger narrative of miners are losing revenue at the moment. So they're having to restructure their entire companies to try and survive. And the most recent example of that is CleanSpark, who's looking to acquire new crypto mining companies, or acquire at least ones that are struggling to try and bolster themselves, as well as Hut 8 and US Mining planning a merger at the moment. So in regards to news or what you might be aware of in Australia, what are these companies thinking of doing? Are they pivoting in this way? Are they making acquisitions?
It's sort of a collective effort in a sense, because I guess if you look back to when these companies all started to become involved in this space, it was that circa 2020, 2021 area, right? So a lot of liquidity.
Capital,
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And so these guys were picking up machinery for, I would say, an 80 cents on the dollar mark, which was great then. But now it's where they're struggling. If you take into example, I won't name companies, but there was a particular company that bought a lot of older gen machines at a very, very good price. But their efficiency, overall setup was going to be questionable in this period, and thus have all been switched off. So went bankrupt, is now offloading all this really, really cheap hash rate that's not really profitable. A lot of these companies are having to pivot because they are in the red in this particular sector at this current time period. So what is their option? Okay, either go insolvency, turn off, et cetera, restructure is probably the easiest, which we're all trying to do. Whether that's buying newer gen miners to make themselves more efficient, their production levels go up, whether it's buying really, really, really cheap hash rate from other companies that are struggling and lowering their overall energy costs by buying more, and vice versa. They're trying to be a little bit more agile so that they can either put their production back up in the sense of their profitability, but also restructure in the sense of where they're going for the next 12 months. Because if they can buy really cheap hash rate now and mine for the next 12 to 24 months, exactly, that's the thing, they can triple their initial investment in that sense of Bitcoin accumulated during that period for a very cheap price today. There'll be a lot of companies that will be doing a very similar thing, and a lot of funding in that sense doing the same thing, because you'd rather do it now than in 6 to 12 months when Bitcoin's at 50,000 US, and be paying
the last
4 times the price
to get stuff.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's the thing, they've got more control in that sense. They've already got a lot cheaper power, particularly there's a particular company in the US that has restructured a paper mill to produce energy, and being able to pull out I think it was per kilowatt they were doing, I think it was around 4 cents US.
That's pretty good. What's the actual median? I don't know.
Median price would probably be around 7.
Oh, wow. So that's nearly half. Wow.
Yeah, so very cheap and very constant stream. A lot of companies that are able to produce that 7 to 8 US cents mark is something that's not a fixed long-term agreement.
Yeah.
Whereas this company owns their own power import, so they can manipulate it however they'd like.
That's gorgeous. That's like as a company controlling your own supply chain of resources for your inputs. If you control that, you have way more reliability on your product. That's right.
Great. And they're really fortunate as well. They're using old excess coal that couldn't actually be burned. So it's even a green initiative to do it. So very, very smart way of doing it. Very obviously a lot of startup costs, but very, very smart long term for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to try and do some research to find out what this company is. But they're undoubtedly making connections left and right because of this.
100% they are, yeah.
So you mentioned one thing there, which is kind of the miners that these the actual mining machines that these companies are using. I wanted to touch base on you to see what some of the newest miner models are in the market. I think one of them was the D9 or the K7, or maybe the KA3 if I remember correctly. So which one's on your mind at the moment? Which one can you share?
To be fair, you're all correct. So in that sense, at the moment, it's sort of an altcoin miner season, and the reason for that is obviously Bitcoin's price going down. It creates more ability to make something a bit more attractive that wasn't once attractive. So I guess at the moment, Bitmain, particularly that manufacturer, is bringing out a lot of altcoin miners, all very attractive, all very good.
And what's, apart from the Bitcoin, what are the major altcoin mining operations? So of course Ethereum went from to the merger, so it's no longer proof of work, proof of stake. We'll go to that topic later. But what are the main altcoins that people are mining now?
So at the moment, I guess the biggest one that's recently come out would be the KA3, which is mining Kadena. Second best would probably be a Litecoin miner, like an L7, which is a dual miner.
Litecoin coming soon. Yeah.
Exactly right. I think at the moment we're sitting at about a 55% increase as of June 2022. So pretty decent rise so far.
Right.
And then, there's obviously the K7 that comes out, which is mining CKB on the Nervos network.
Ooh.
And then the D9 is you can mine Dash. So, some very different miners, different strategies. A lot of our clients, the KA3 has been a very popular miner. The prices were a little bit higher a few weeks ago. They were making like $80 a day. So very, very profitable miner. A lot of our clients are using them to indirectly mine Bitcoin.
Yeah. So as in like you mine the altcoin, then you sell it for Bitcoin. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So literally the strategy, like personally, I bought one of these and my strategy is sort of like a 50-50 split.
Sure.
So every week I'll transfer 50% of it over into Bitcoin and then also keep the 50% Kadena just as exposure.
Yep.
So yeah, so there's a lot of strategies involved with that, but a lot of our clients are using it to prop up their energy bills and vice versa. So pretty versatile in that sense.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing your personal strategy there. That's very nice of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you're saying, like there's all these new miners out there. The technology, obviously, year by year does get a little bit better. I think I heard there was like a new nano chip coming out. I don't know the specifics on this. I don't know if you have any commentary on this. But the technology itself is getting better, right? Every year, or maybe every 2 years.
Yeah, definitely. There's obviously been a pretty decent jump just in the sense of the efficiency, which the chips do make a fairly decent jump in that sense. But it's also in the sense of where the structuring of the miner plan comes from. Take for example the S19 Pro. A year or two ago was the top tier model at 110 terahash for 3250 watts. Whereas now, there's the XP, which is doing 141 terahash, so 31 more, and doing 3075 watts. So using less power and producing, close to 30% more. So it's a very interesting step up in that sense, as well as obviously the new hydro-cooled miners that keep coming out. So there's a really big jump in that sense for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I have up here the total hash rate as well. So maybe we can touch on this and what's happening.
Yeah, of course.
So we can see even in the 3-year period, we're nearly at all-time high for total hash rate, which means, the machines just get more efficient, more machines get turned on, and that's how this hash rate increases, right? So I wonder, do you guys keep tabs on the hash rate? Of course, what happened in this period here? Would you know?
Sorry, I can't see the mark.
November 2022, right after that, maybe the December period, the two the two little down spikes.
So in that sense, that would have been capitulation. If you look down, particularly there with the Bitcoin price going down a bit further. So right there, that would have been a capitulation event in the sense of where Bitcoin probably went from 20 odd thousand to being around the 15, 16 mark.
Yeah,
which would have sent a lot of people through a bit of a fear period. They would have really been going, okay, I've just gone from, breaking even, making a few dollars a day to now in the red. So there's been obviously a fairly decent change in strategy there. There would have been some miners turning off, which obviously has led to the difficulty going down, particularly during that period as well. In the US alone, there was quite a lot of storm activity in the Texas region. There was a lot of sites that went down. I think I can't remember the specific company, but there was one that lost 17,000 miners for about 2 weeks.
Wow!
So it does add up to a fair bit coming off the hash rate as well.
Yeah, right. And Texas is a major hub for crypto mining. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, exactly right. A lot of energy, a lot of space, obviously, and a bit of freedom in the sense of legislation. So yeah, massive.
That's awesome. So it's very interesting to see that miner hash rate, even still the total hash rate going up and to the right, which means the network is just more secure, which is great,
And particularly, I guess the important thing for this chart as well is if you look sort of that July 2022 area, where the price and the hash rate coincided and then separated sort of around September. That was where a lot of companies were starting to have a lot of issues, and thus led to some very, very cheap hash rate being on the market. And a lot of companies buying more. And so
that's what I see there. That's what I think it is. They would have 100%. Accumulated all these struggling miners, and then they have more hash rate.
Exactly right. And there was particularly, one of the biggest miners in the world went under. So there was a lot of miners on the market for a very, very affordable price, which, a lot of people picked up, as well as obviously new batches coming out and vice versa. So it was kind of the perfect storm in the sense for the network difficulty to keep going up.
Yeah, very interesting to see like this. People in the Bitcoin industry, like they buy Bitcoin, the normal investor, the retail person, they don't know about the whole mining aspect behind it. So it's very interesting to get updated on what's happening here. So
it's always a bit fun.
Yeah, I wanted to pivot now to the mining store. Tell us how you guys are going at the mining store before we end the video. How are you going? What's happening with the mining store? Where are you guys located? How can someone contact you guys to get in contact to start mining if they want?
Yeah, of course. So we're obviously based in Melbourne. So we're an Australian-owned company. We've been running for a very long time, around the 6-7 year mark. So we've got facilities overseas, as well as obviously catering to retail clients in Australia. So people can reach out to us via our website, social media, anything like that. They can hit me up directly if they'd like to. So yeah, there's loads of opportunities for what we do and how we can help people either get into the mining industry or learn about what the next steps are.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, you guys, if you're interested in mining at all, or just even learning more about mining, contact the mining store. They're a great resource. And lastly, I wanted to touch on one very, very small topic. I don't know if it's worthwhile or not, the Ethereum merge. So have you seen people since Ethereum finished finished the merge and moved to proof of stake? What have you seen happen in crypto miners at the moment? Have you seen some of those companies selling their graphics cards, even though it's not really good for Bitcoin mining? What's happening there?
Yeah, like that's sort of the biggest thing that's made a big shift sort of that mid last year as well. That probably helped the Bitcoin network go up, because that pretty much was aligned exactly when Ethereum merged. A lot of people have been, all throughout, the Facebook groups, the online forums, lots of stuff, selling off all of their Ethereum miners, the cards, and you name it. But at the same point, a lot of them switched. If you look at anything else that you could mine with graphics cards and whatnot, the difficulty, exactly. ETH Classic went up by, I think it was like 250% on its difficulty.
Wow.
So it didn't really help in that sense for them. As well as anything else, Raven, Monero, all that sort of stuff, all skyrocketed. So a lot of them were stuck dead in the water. But at that point, there's a few that are a bit profitable now, but not hugely. So a lot of them are probably still sitting on their graphics cards, waiting for the price to probably go up a bit, because you can buy them for a few hundred now instead of 1,000.
Yeah.
So very unfortunate, but at the same point, it's sort of something that's been coming for 2 years. So
people had time to prepare for it. They knew it was coming.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like we stopped dealing with that stuff. I think it was 2021. So right. It was something we knew was coming for a while.
Definitely good bit of business planning there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, my friends, I think we'll end it there. I want to thank Taylor from the Mining Store and Imperial Wealth for joining us today for December and January Bitcoin mining update. So Taylor, thank you very much. I wonder, do you have one piece of advice for anyone who wants to get into mining or just start out, or they want to learn? Where should they go? One piece of advice.
Definitely book a call with us. The one thing that I always say is talking to someone about the plan or the strategy or anything like that is always important, irrespective of purchasing or not. It's about sounding out your idea. I did it years ago before I even started working here, and I spoke to the guys who started this company purely just to see what I should do or what should I look at. So it's always worth having a chat to someone. Don't jump head first.
Yeah. Sound advice.
But thanks for having me on. It was always good to catch up, and look forward to the next one.
Yeah, sounds good. Me too, man. I will see you all later. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. And if you have any questions for Taylor, if you can't reach out to him, put it inside the video in the Collective Shift platform, and I'll make sure I get it to Taylor, and we'll be able to answer it at the next mining update. So yeah, perfect. Taylor, thank you very much, man. We will see you later.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, guys. Speak again soon.
Out.
Cheers.